Everybody, it's Chris over at Dixieland Farm, and I am drinking coffee. That almost never happens when I'm not at work or when I'm driving to go on vacation. I'm not really a coffee drinker per se, but Marissa is at a clinic right now. I've got a few hours. I just flew the MD-80 from Pensacola Beach to New Orleans, had a wonderful flight, and now I'm testing myself by going into the Metro III, which is a slant alpha aircraft. That means that it is completely just based on radio navigation. And I was at Palm Beach with this aircraft, so I tend to keep, connecting legs to legs. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be leaving Palm Beach, flying over Miami, coming across the end here to go to Key West. And the reason why is because I want to challenge myself with an NDB approach. I hate NDBs. I've always hated NDBs. What is an NDB, Chris? I'm glad you asked. So a VOR sends out a signal that you can kind of track exactly where you are in relation to that. So if you were flying directly at it, let's say it's, a certain heading, but if you're off to the side, you can figure out a track so that way you're flying next to it or near it, whatever. NDBs are basically just a radio transmitter. Some of them are literally AM radio transmitters. I think WABC in New York was an NDB. So an NDB sends out a non-directional signal, non-directional beacon. You can fly to it. That's about it. That is about all you can do is fly to it. But using your compass and where you are, you can do a little bit of work. So what you are doing is, here is Key West, right? The NDB is on the top part of the island, the VOR, but the NDB is lined up with the runway, fishhook. So what you can do is you can see the signal as you're flying to it, and then when you're flying away from it, you can figure out that you should fly a 71-degree track behind you, which would then be, at 180 to get where you should be, which is a 251 radial, right? And then you can actually even says 251 here. So fly 251 out for within 10 miles. Make a procedure turn. That's what the little hook is here. So you make it suggests flying out 296 and then wrapping yourself back around 116 and then come inbound. And you want to come inbound on a 71-degree radial because you can kind of figure it out, right? As you point to it. Some people love these things. I hate them, but challenging ourselves. So with this approach, you can get down to 500. So you see it says circling approach because it's never going to guide you directly in. It's always a circling. So no matter what you do, its job is to get you pointed at the airport. That's it. So you can stay at 1,500 feet, and then as you come back around, down to 900 feet. Stay at 900 feet, and then you could come down to 500 feet. And is there any mileage markers? Not really. So, yeah, do your best. There we go. So, let's get into the aircraft. So we got some setup to do. Let's go ahead and pretend that we've got ground power on, and we've got the baggage, main door, and all of that. So that way we are loading up. So here's the baggage. 19 passengers today because 20 passengers requires a flight attendant. So that's why they designed this aircraft to not have 20 seats. Palm Beach traffic, this is Continental 5522 at the gates. We'll be taxiing to runway 10 left for a south departure, taxiing via Alpha, Palm Beach. All right, so I made my call, and here we do a fire test real quick. So we've done that. Anything else we need to do? We've got our nose wheel steering on, as I said, and I believe we can go ahead and turn on the pitot heat. So we've got that going. Don't have to worry about icing or anything along those lines. All right, so we got the Heading bug set for 10. We confirmed we're at 10. And we can actually see here, 10 left. And we're going to hold the brakes. We are going to increase speed. And once the torque gets above 20, actually I think it's once it's above 50, we can let go and take off. So here we go. We're increasing the torque right about to there. So there we go, taking off over Palm Beach. We got 1,000 feet to go. Not using autopilot yet. Here we go. That radial's coming in. Trying to stay at 5,000. Trimming this out so it's right at 5,000. Alright, so we're following the radial. Okay, Continental 5522, clear to assigned altitude, right? So there we go. Now we're cleared to 16,000. So tile it in and up we go. Look at that beautiful Orbic scenery as we fly over swampland. So what we're doing here is we're leaving the Dolphin VOR, and at 39 miles, you see the 39 right there, right? That's where we pick up the Key West, and at 71 miles on the 37 radial. So that's when we switch over. And then from that point, we can start figuring out what we need to do. So gentle corrections here just to stay on course. A little out of practice on this guy, but we're still doing just fine. And again, still hand flying this entirely. No autopilot at all. Oh, there's the tip of Florida. You can see all the swampland here, and again, how cool is Orbic's True Earth? And cloud art here. This is a free cloud replacement called Cloud Art for X-Plane 11. X-Plane 12, this is all taken care of, and some people use volumetric clouds called enhanced skyscapes or enhanced cloudscapes, but I never could get it to work, and I actually think these are just fine. And so instead of having a frame rate issue, this is fine. You do get that little blinking between collision of clouds. So that's what that little thing that looks like lightning is right there in the front, but that doesn't really bother me. And you can see my frame rate here is 57, 60, and that's even with the Orbic's scenery. Though to be fair, we're not in a very populated area. So if you're not sure what I'm talking about, you see the line here on the plane? When the radial is lined up, it should be straight up and down. So I'm flying slightly out. You see that line moving? So if I time this just right, when I'm done with my turn, the whole line should be straight up and down. There we go. 1,000 feet a minute, that's what I want, and I'm pretty much on line with the VOR, which is that center one, and then the ADF just got tuned in, so you can see if I wanted to get to it, I would have to do a course of 210 on my compass. So that's how I get to the NDB, the non-directional beacon, with my ADF, my automatic directional finder. Yeah, so. And 19 miles is where we're going to basically break off and just point to the NDB. And then from that point on, we can follow the NDB approach. And we're just kind of leisurely coming down to 10,000 feet. And at 19 miles, we break off from the Key West VOR and just follow the NDB. We just basically keep pointing at the NDB until it flips over. And then once it flips over, then we want an outbound course of 251. So we want to follow the tail of the NDB pointed at 251. Then we can do a procedure turn, basically 296, 116 in, and follow the NDB back in. We can be above 1500 when we make the turn, and then we can come in down to 900 feet. You're probably asking yourself, Chris, how do you know that you've flown over the NDB? Well, that thing will spin, and it's going to get a little squirrely as I get close to it. You can also see outside. There's the runway. You can see that thing is swinging around as I swing around. I'm going to hold heading 251 as this thing comes around. And I'm going to make my call. Key West traffic, this is Continental 5522 on the NDB approach for runway 9, Key West. Great. So I made my call. I'm trying to slow down. It's getting closer. I know it's hard to see because it's backwards, right? But I'm close to, I'm on 256, and I'm trying to get that thing to 251. And I'm trying to level off here so that way, you know, I'm not blowing past my altitude, so I'm staying right there, roughly 2,000. All right, so I'm supposed to stay within 10 miles. We're going to call it right there, and we're going to make a turn to 296. And that 296 is not, it's a suggestion. So now we're timing it for 1 minute here. So 34 was the time on the clock. The clock right here. So I'm watching that. So 1 minute out, and then I can come back around to 116, and then try to grab that 7-1 on the NDB. Okay, so I'm coming around to 115.
US traffic to Legion 2254 descending at a 7,000, approximately 12 miles to the north west of the airport. Inbound to land, RNAV approach to runway 9er, Key West.
And Key West traffic, this is Continental 5522 on a 10-mile final doing the NDB for runway 9. Full stop, Key West. So what I'm trying to do here is, you see that thing is at 8, I'm trying to get it to 7, so I'm trying to fly a little bit out. But we can't come down to 900.
US traffic Legion 2254, 5-mile final, RNAV approach runway 9er at Key West.
Key West traffic, Continental 5522 on a 2-mile final for runway 9. Full stop, Key West. Alright, so there's a guy behind me. I can't deal with him. I'm trying to keep my speed up, and we got just got to pay attention. We got 3 greens, and we've got our bleeds off, got our prop sync off, got our flap set. I'm coming in at 140. Unfortunately, I don't know what the speed is of this airplane. I looked up desperately, but I couldn't find it. So I think it's 115. So if we get down to 120, we should be fine. I want to come in just a little bit slower than this. There we go. I know it was a hard landing, but that's because the frame rate changed on me. So, got the reverse. trying to get off the runway for this guy. And the nose wheel steering.
US traffic, Legion 2254, short final runway 9er to Key West.
So he's on short final. Let's get off the runway. Key West traffic, Continental 5522, clear, active runway, taxiing to the gates. Key West. All right. There he goes, landing. There's my parking brake. Here we are, landed. There's the Allegiant. I feel like an idiot. These speeds are right here. Ah. So what should I have done? I was at half 119. So yeah, it was the right speed, but I should have flared just a little bit, or should have chopped the power, I think. Good flare. Yeah. Shouldn't have cut the power. But one thing to remember, the landing rate in the sim world is not the most, it's not the most important. It's what everyone goes by, but getting it in that touchdown zone, that is most important. Not floating down the runway to get a low number. That's important, to land it where you're supposed to and to land at center line. So it was a successful landing. The frame rate played just a little bit, it got a little choppy, and then I couldn't time it out quite right, and I probably shouldn't have cut the power as drastically, which is something I need to work on with these commercial planes. Engines have shut down, so we are safe to go ahead and add baggage door. So I know we got a lot of compass rose here, and we're going to turn that off in a second, right? So we came in right, this little squiggly here is where we kind of then started taking the path of the NDB, and you can see we actually FIS right here. We got to basically the NDB. We went straight out. We did our turn. Actually, it's this bottom one. We did the turn. We came back around. And then we had to adjust because we didn't come back far enough. Then we picked up the track in. And we followed it and landed. Hope you enjoyed the flight. It was a little complicated and some stuff was happening. And like I said, the landing was a little hard, but my first time back in this airplane in weeks. And the frame rate, I couldn't quite time it out right. Like I said, the landing rate is not as important as getting it down in the right spot where you intended. That's what flight simming is all about. And of course, practice, practice, practice. And staying in one airplane. The more you're in different airplanes, this happens where you become master of none. Totally fine. So, from Big Slant Farm, thanks so much for watching. Take care.